Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me this evening, week 3 of our class. And just checking in. Yep, we got the recording working. And I've got helicopters buzzing around my house. I think there's a fire nearby, just so you know. There's like extra noise. And in case you're wondering what that is, that would be, what's going on over here. Such is the life living in California. I think we're all too familiar with heat waves and fires and such. All right, so for week 3, what's going to happen on week 3? You're going to put together a PowerPoint demonstrating your multimedia skills, and you're going to make a brochure on copyright rules. And so before we get going on that, quick question for you, check for knowledge, so to speak. What is your understanding of hypermedia? Please type in your understanding of hypermedia. Okay, looks like I stymied my class a little bit about hypermedia. If you can type in kind of what you think some elements might be of hypermedia. And I see I've got media attached as hyperlinks from Michael. He's on the right track there. All right, so what do you think? This is a brainstorming here. What do you think are things that belong to hypermedia? Allows information to be stored. Could be. Using multiple sources. Michelle's on the right track there. Cloud from Brittany along the track there. Francis says fast exchange of data. Video, there you go. Morris is on the right track there. Google Doc, that could be kind of going like the cloud. So hypermedia, as you guys are clicking in there, I want you to kind of think about, you are using hypermedia. If you're surfing the internet, you're almost always going to see hypermedia. That's where there's a link that can, like, say you're reading a news story, and then there's a little link, and you can click on it, and you can maybe watch a video or read more information, go more in depth. Isao, video, audio, perfect. Yep, that's a great example right there. Links to video, audio, photographs. Okay, so along those lines, and it's called Web 2.0. You might have heard like Web 1.0. So a long time ago, when internet first came out, it was just basically files that were on the internet. There wasn't a lot of hyperlinks, and hyperlinks gradually came in, and so now they're so embedded in the way that we interact with the internet, we don't even think about it anymore. And you probably think about that if you just any website that you go to, you can click and learn more. You've got more control of what you're going to learn, what you're going to see, or not. You can ignore the links and just read the basics of the article. So that's kind of in the nutshell what hypermedia is. So it's like a hyperlink, and that includes links to videos, pictures, sounds, more text, more information, other websites. Brittany says, could it be tabs? Yeah, and in fact, can you see the classroom? I tried to put week 3 up. Can you guys see that? Try to share that on there. Perfect. Okay, so this is classic hypermedia here, because these little homepage announcements, syllabus, etc. Those are hyperlinks. And you know that if you click on that, it's going to give you more information. And then you click on that, and then you go to there, then there's more information. And we have embedded in here, for example, you can click on this and get more information about the readings. Or if you don't want to read it as a PDF, you can click on here and see it as PowerPoints. So there's different ways you can do that. And in some of our weeks, I don't see one here, there was videos. Like you could have clicked the link and watched videos to learn more content. So that's a big part of your chapter 6 if you've got the older book. I'm not sure if you've got ebook what chapter it is, but for our readings this week, definitely we're going to be, as you go through your readings, when you come across whatever chapter you have in your book, when you're talking about hyperlinks, spend extra focus on it, a little extra attention on hyperlinks. A couple of reasons why. One, because that's the world we live in now for you as a consumer. And it's kind of interesting to see the little history of how that came about and how that made interacting with data almost three-dimensional, if you can kind of think about that. You make it much more robust than just words on a page. Second lens I want you to look at that through is you're going to be creating a multimedia presentation. It sounds really fancy. You're making a PowerPoint. And that brings me to my second question to you tonight. How many of you have made a PowerPoint or a digital presentation? Okay, most folks have made that, but not necessarily everyone has made PowerPoint. But here's the situation. To get past this class, you will all have made a PowerPoint. So those of you that are really comfortable with making PowerPoints, you'll get to sigh a little bit sigh of relief because it's going to be pretty straightforward what you need to do. If you haven't made PowerPoints, you don't need to panic at all because it's a template. And you're going to just find the data and put it in there and practice making hyperlinks. And we'll go through all the steps of what you need to put in your PowerPoint. So I said there's 3 reasons why you need to focus on hypermedia this week. 1, for you, just kind of learn a little bit about the history of it. 2, because you're going to make a hyperlink document. You're going to make a PowerPoint. 3rd reason, as teachers, we should be challenging our students, if we look at the ISTE standards, to create multimedia presentations. That's where it's headed. That's where it should be. And I'm going to bring up here, if I do this right, I'm trying to share with you the Hess Cognitive Rigor Matrix. Can you let me know if you can see that? Okay, thank you. So how many of you have ever gone over one of these with one of your previous classes from National, or maybe your own professional development if you're already in the classroom? Have you seen this document before? The Hess Cognitive Rigor Matrix and Curricular Examples. Okay, so most folks haven't seen this yet. You very well may come, this little document may come your way at some point. This is part of the 21st century skills for, we talked about that last week, about the 21st century skills, and this is where we had No Child Left Behind, and then it evolved into more rigor. And so anyway, this is kind of the kind of where things are here. So not to go into too much about this Hess Cognitive Rigor Matrix and Curricular Examples, trying to say that 3 times fast, but this document here, in a visual way, can show you the type of lesson that you're creating. Is it over here in the very low end, like the Bloom's taxonomy, and it kind of breaks down the different levels here. So over in the remember, retrieve knowledge from long-term memory, recognize, recall, locate, identify. And it's not to say these aren't important things. However, these are really basic things. And with part of the 21st century standards, all teaching practice is supposed to move eventually our students over here to the create column and all the way over to the right, where you see things like synthesize information, articulate new, evaluate, relevancy. All this in this lower quadrant over here on the right is where ultimately we want to head our lessons, to challenge our students and get them ready for the 21st century. So I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing this up because I want you to think about this. Week 4, as we've been talking about since week 1, you're going to be making a technology integrated lesson plan, and that you're going to be integrating technology, pretty straightforward there, but the key is the students need to create something. They need to create something using technology. And we kind of talked about that a little bit with WebQuest. That's an example of making where the students actually create something. And that starts bringing you in the lower right-hand quadrant over here. Also, the Kathy Schrock website had a lot of websites in the discussion boards that I've read through discussion boards this week. Super excited to see a lot of folks are going to be using visual manipulatives. Some folks were going to take virtual field trips. And I really like the way that you're thinking. And I made you guys comments on your discussion boards if you read that in your grade book. Most of you are spot on track, ready to start thinking about using technology as a tool to help your students create something, develop something, evaluate something. So it's starting to be in the higher order thinking, and that's the sweet spot where you're going to have your technology standards and your 21st century standards, and along with the state standards for your content area. So then I'm finally back to my point of the third reason why it's important to understand what hypermedia is, because you will want to have your students create a hypermedia project to demonstrate what they learned. And that could be like an iMovie. I believe I showed you last week in a little simple example where students created an iMovie showing that they understand offensive and defensive strategies for PE. That's my subject area, and that was 10th graders, and they use academic language. So that was just a simple example there. But for your own subject areas, and I'm seeing in your discussion boards, you guys are thinking along the right lines, and you're headed absolutely the right direction. So that's just, I'm going to kind of stop there and then open it up to questions. But that's kind of the gist of the why we're going to be focusing on hypermedia this week. Okay, if you would like to, we're going to go ahead and look at the cyber safety PowerPoint, and I'm downloading it here, and if you want to follow along and download it for yourself, that would be great. And then I'm going to share with you some key points to consider while you're making your PowerPoint this week. All right, folks, are you able to see the PowerPoint? Hopefully I'm sharing it successfully with you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so for the PowerPoint, it's a template, meaning it's really pretty straightforward what you need to be putting in it. And I've shared the rubric with you guys on the announcement, so you can see that real easily. But so the key points for it is you see down here there's notes where it says today we will be discussing cyber safety, etc., etc. So each slide, every slide except the last one, you need to put your notes down in here. And this is just more detailed information that you need to put in. So that's that. And so you have your title slide, and then you identify the 5 categories you're going to be using. And everyone's going to have the same thing, but you're going to have different backgrounds and different ways that you're going to be showing it. And then, of course, the folks here have their notes. So you don't get, I'm bringing this to your attention because every slide you get docked 1 point if you're missing your notes, and that's just silly. There's no reason to get points docked for not having your notes. It's super, super easy to do, so just type those in there. And you need to have images and talk about, so each category, so there's 5 categories. Each category needs 2 slides. So acceptable use policy, we kind of talk about that, more detail, APA formatting inside there. The second slide. Up here, each slide, each category needs at least 1 hyperlink. And see that they got the acceptable use here. You can tell it's a hyperlink because it's underlined and it's a different color. So every category needs this link, and you just follow the instructions to tell you what you need to link to, and it's pretty straightforward. The person who developed this had nice pictures. Thought they were pretty creative as they put in there. So you also are going to need 1 video, a link to a video, and you can go on YouTube and find a link about cyberbullying, or you can go to any of the websites and the resources in the assignment. There's no shortage of cyberbullying websites, unfortunately, because it is so common, unfortunately. And so these are, see the effects of cyberbullying. And so this is, you're going to bring a movie into here. All right, and then it just kind of goes on, and you can see more link and so on and such forth. Not to belabor that, but at the end, wrap it up, and then don't forget to have your reference list, and of course they should be in alphabetical order, and follow the APA format for your reference list. All right, some questions are coming in. Michelle asked, how long does the video need to be? There's no limit, none at all. Just as long as it matches the content, that's good enough for me. Basically, the main purpose of this assignment, the content is important, but more, at least in my opinion, more important is you can demonstrate, you can put together a multimedia presentation that is neat and clean, and so they have good use of white space. It's not cluttery. It just looks sharp, looks professional. The hyperlinks, when I hover over it, you can see what the URL is. And if I were to click on that, I could get the movie to play. So it looks professional, looks nice and clean, and this is something you would be very proud to present, at a faculty meeting or possibly with your students. If you get older students, it looks good, looks sharp. And so, leaving this class, my hope is that all of you leave this class with the ability to make a PowerPoint to look sharp and something you're proud of, and that you can use with your own students. And with that skill, you're able to coach your students when you're going to ask them to create PowerPoints for your class presentation. All right, just a friendly reminder that if you go under your course resources and their shared documents, there's a little information about cyber resources if you'll need some resources. They're here. Also, if it's been a while since you've maybe never, since you've made a hyperlink, they are really easy to Google or go to the Microsoft Office homepage, or if you've got PowerPoint installed on your computer, they've got help. It's really not complicated on how to make a hyperlink, and that's basically how you do it. And at the end of class tonight, like we did last week, we had a little refresher on Excel, the basic formulas. If you need a little refresher on how to do a hyperlink and a PowerPoint, I'll stick around for a little bit, and we can bounce through some of those and make sure everybody feels comfortable on how to do that. All right, does anybody have any other questions about the cyberbullying, the cyber safety PowerPoint? That's assignment number 1 to do this week. Okay, we'll move on to the second assignment this week. Is your week 3 assignment where you make a brochure. Again, you can download, like we've been doing, like we did with the newsletter and the flyer. You can download this from Microsoft Office as a template, and you're going to make a brochure on copyright and fair use. So, quick question for you. Here's our quiz for the evening. Copyright. What is the difference between copyright and fair use? All right, so we got some responses here. Brittany, fair use, you can borrow a picture for a project you aren't putting on the web as your own. Michelle, copyright refers to needing permission to distribute, and fair use allowing rules and etiquette. Brittany, copyright means you need to give credit or reference. All right, you all are on the right track, absolutely. So copyright is, in kind of in a nutshell, and that's one of your tasks will be, is to define it. But just kind of keeping in mind that copyright is a little more stringent and a little bit more strict about what can and can't be done. And for education, there's, for people in education and in a not-for-profit situation, you can use copyrighted materials in a limited way, and that's called fair use. And so what you're going to explore through this assignment, you're going to be creating a brochure that you're exploring of when fair use can be used and then under what circumstances. And your audience for this is your own students. So this would be, hypothetically, you're going to create this copyright brochure that you're going to hand out at for your students, or maybe at open house night, to kind of let the parents know this is my expectations for when we use internet and multimedia, when we're using songs and videos and pictures for projects in our class, because we are going to need to use videos and songs and pictures and resources from the internet. We're going to need to use them to create our multimedia projects. So when we use them, there's a certain way that we're supposed to go about using them, kind of like rules of engagement. So that's who your audience is. So when you're making your copyright, hopefully none of the work you're doing in this class is busy work. It's something you can always use with your own students, or if you're ever asked to present at a faculty meeting. So anyway, the main takeaways here is you need to have a section in your brochure. It just disappeared on me. Bear with, where'd it go? You need to have a section, let's see if I can get it. Here. Okay. Over here, you need a section on what is copyright information, a definition, if you will. So you need that for copyright. You're also going to need one for fair use. Okay, that's part one. Part two, copyright definition, fair use definition, good overview of it, good, solid, succinct definition of it. Part three, you need to have a section on fair use for students. Specifically, what can students use, what is available for them to use. Be very specific. It must include multimedia and internet. And of course, multimedia is back to your songs, your web pages, your videos, and internet in general. So you need a section for fair use for students, and you also need teacher fair use, a description of what teachers can and can't do with fair use. And finally, it needs a reference list, the resources, a reference list. Because after all, I mean, let's not do copyright infringement on a copyright brochure. That'd just be something wrong about that. All right, so the 5 parts to this. Number 1, you need to have a definition of copyright. What is it? Definition of fair use for teachers. Don't forget internet and multimedia. Fair use for students. Don't forget internet and multimedia, and your reference list. Neat and clean, sharp looking, and you need a couple of pictures in there. At least 1 picture, if not 2. There you go. This person put in 2 pictures. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, but I'm going to open up to questions. See if anybody has questions about the copyright fair use brochure that's due this week. Okay, Michelle asked, do we include our name on the brochure? Absolutely. Absolutely. Please put your name on the brochure. Two-sided brochure. Thank you, Francis. Good question. All right, while you're thinking of more questions about that assignment, I'm going to bop over here to our week 3 discussion board. Discussion board this week's pretty straightforward. You're going to select an educational website in Chapter 8. Now, if you have ebook or your chapters don't line up, that's okay. Just basically, you need to choose an educational website. So pick an educational website, explain how you could use it in your classroom for web-based learning activity. Cite the name, what the website does, explanation, own original idea how to use this website. And this would be a perfect segue into your week 4 technology lesson plan. Hint, hint, that would be really good to segue into that if you wanted to do that. All right, then it looks like we're pretty good here. Just want to thank you again so much for joining me. It helps a lot when we get to meet live. I mean, the recordings are good too, but I think it helps being able to meet live and be able to answer questions in real time. And of course, as you're working through your assignments this week, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Let me know if you've got any questions. And if you finish your assignments early this week and you want to take a little peek-see at week 4, I would encourage you to do that. The technology integrated lesson plan is a pretty big capstone project for a class. So if you want to get a head start on that, or at least read through it, so when we go over a webinar next week on week 4, you would be ready with questions for me. Anyway, a lecture still Monday. Yes, even though it's a holiday, we'll still meet at our usual time, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time next Monday. And the reason why, I mean, I know it's holiday and it's recorded, so it's not mandatory that you're there, but philosophically, I want to give you as full, because the class ends next Saturday. You don't have a full week. It's cut short. And if I postpone this on our webinar until Tuesday, my thinking is that only gives you 5 days to get your technology integrated lesson plan. And I don't want to scare you from it, but it's a little bit more robust. It's more robust than what you're going to be needing to do this week. And so by having our session on Monday, my hope is that it gives you a little bit extra time to process and start working through. All right, that is it for me this evening. And again, thank you so much for joining. If you're good with hyperlinks and PowerPoints, you're free to go. And if you want to stick around for a couple minutes for some questions on, or a little refresher on how to do a PowerPoint hyperlink, you are welcome to do so. All right, folks, we're going to go on we'll review on how to do a hyperlink for PowerPoint. So let's check the link here. So you can highlight it, go under here, see where it says insert hyperlink. You click on, you get this little box up here. And the display, this is the words that you want people to see, and then you're going to paste your link right in here. So let's say you found a website, okay, that you wanted to link to. So you copy the website, and then you're going to type the words that you want to be displayed, click this, and then you hit OK. So another way you can do it, and I'm on a Mac, so I do Apple K, but I believe you're on a PC, you do Control K. And I just hit Apple K, or you're on a PC, Control K, and then again you just simply paste your URL there. So step 1 is you find the link that you want to link to, and that could be your video. Okay, if you wanted a YouTube and you found a link you like from YouTube, that's your cyberbullying presentation video you want to show. So you get the link. That's step 1. You go find your link, and then you write your text. Let's put here. So you type your text, and then I'm going to highlight where I want my link to go. I'm going to do my insert hyperlink here. And here's where I would paste my YouTube link, and then of course it's going to display there. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward on that. What questions do you guys have? Okay, what's step 1? Someone type in, what's step 1? Perfect. Find your link. Then what's step 2? Or video. Yep, link or video. Step 2. Perfect. And you can do that with Control K or Apple K or under Insert Hyperlink. Any of those ways will work. And then you paste it into there. And the main thing to take away, what you guys know, is that I don't want to see the URL. It's like http:// blah 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 blah. Don't want to see that. I want to see the name of the link, where you want to send them. See where it says avoid cyber predators? this is a nice clean link. It would not be nice clean link. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, do you see how this looks? This is not pretty, not good. It looks unprofessional. It looks novice. This looks like somebody who doesn't know the technique of hypermedia. And as the teacher, you don't want to show this to your students. That looks messy. Whereas this looks a lot nicer and cleaner. So when you see on your rubric, it says that it pastes links, not URLs. So this is a URL where it has HTTP and all this nonsense. That's a URL, and this up here, avoid cyber predators, is a link. So just make sure your links look like this up here, not down here. Okay, pretty straightforward. Find pictures, use of white space, nice and neat and clean, no problem. Okay, let me know if you've got any questions. All right, thank you so much for sticking around, and good luck with your projects this week, and let me know if you've got any questions.